Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I can't play because of my arm. Someone can play. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमस्ते। तप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी
वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Welcome everyone, so grateful to be here, deeply happy as well to see so many kind mentors, friends, both here in person and online. Kindly pray that we can share together words that are enlivening, enthusing and empowering. And yes, glorifying the Lord and His devotees. We're reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, second Canto, chapter 10, which is entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, text 7.
Mukham karoti vachalam bhangam langayate girim Yatkritam vamaham bhante Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam. Abhashascha nirodhascha Yatosti adhivasyate Sa ashraya param brahma Paramatmeti shabdyate. Abhashascha nirodhascha Yatosti adhivasyate Sa ashraya param brahma Paramatmeti shabdyate. Abhashascha nirodhascha Yatosti adhyavasyate Sa ashraya param brahma Paramatmeti sabdyate.
Abhashaha, the cosmic manifestation. Cha, and. Nirodha, and its winding up. Cha, also. Yataha, from the source. Asti, is. Adhyavasyate, become manifested. Saha, he. Ashraya, reservoir. Param, the supreme. Brahma, being. Paramatma, the supersoul. Iti, thus. Shabdyate, called. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being or the Supreme Soul, is the Supreme Source of the cosmic manifestation, as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus He, the Supreme Fountainhead, thus He is the Supreme Fountainhead, the Absolute Truth. Synonyms for the Supreme Source of all energies, as explained in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, are Janmadi Yasya Yataha, Vadanti tat tattva vidastatvam yajjnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdite, called Param-Brahma, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The word iti, used here in this verse, completes the synonyms and thus indicates Bhagavan. This will be further explained in the later verses. But this Bhagavan ultimately means Lord Krishna, because the Srimad Bhagavatam has already accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. The original source of all energies, or the summum bonum, is the Absolute Truth, which is called Param Brahma, etc. And Bhagavan is the last word of the Absolute Truth. But even with the synonyms for Bhagavan, such as Narayan, Vishnu, and Purusha, the last word is Krishna, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate, etc. Besides that, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the representation of Lord Krishna as a sound incarnation of the Lord. Krishna swadamo bhagate dharma jnana divisaha kalo nashta drisham mesha puranarko dunoditaha. Bhagavatam 1.3.43. Thus, by general conclusion, Lord Krishna is the ultimate source of all energies, and the word Krishna means that. And to explain Krishna, or the science of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam has been prepared. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this truth is indicated in the questions and answers by Shuddha Goswami and great sages like Shonaka, and in the first and second chapters of the canto, this is explained. In the third chapter, this subject is more explicit, and in the fourth chapter, even more explicit. In the second canto, the Absolute Truth as the personality of Godhead is further emphasized, and the indication is the Supreme Lord Krishna. The summary of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses, as we have already discussed, is succinct. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in the ultimate issue is confirmed by Brahma in his Brahma Samhita as Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. So it is concluded in the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The complete subject matter is elaborately explained in the 10th and 11th cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the matter of the changes of the Manus or the Manvantaras, such as the Swayambhuva Manvantara and Chakshusha Manvantara, as they are discussed in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna is indicated. In the 8th canto, the Vaivasvata Manvantara, explains the same object indirectly, and in the 9th canto, the same purport is there. In the 12th canto, the same is further explained, specifically regarding different incarnations of the Lord. Thus, it is concluded by studying the complete Srimad Bhagavatam that Lord Sri Krishna is the ultimate summum bonum, or the ultimate source of all energy. And according to the grades of worshippers, the indications of nomenclature may be differently explained as Narayana, Brahma, Paramatma, etc. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I was thinking when I read the verse, two reasons why I really love Srila Prabhupada, the way he teaches. Firstly, like his repetition. I'm a teacher by profession as well. And when I first started out, I was really impatient with the children. I was like, I just told you this last week. You're like, still stuck on it. And, in the actual Sanskrit here, it says Paramatmeti and it says Param Brahma. Param is repeated twice. But if you count in the verses, Supreme is mentioned 5 times by Srila Prabhupada. So, this repetition really helps us to, as Srila Prabhupada says in one purport in Bhagavad Gita, to understand repetition is necessary to understand a subject matter without any confusion or doubt. Like there's no room, like it's crystal clear that Krishna is supreme. And then the second thing I really appreciated was Srila Prabhupada continuously reminds us that it's more important to be a bhakta than to be a scholar. Because, the word celebrated is not actually there, technically, in the translation, but Prabhupada's written it. He's written the Supreme One who is celebrated as a Supreme Being. Do we love Krishna? Do we want to celebrate him? Yes! Can we have a Haribol for that? Haribol! Right? So he has bhava, he has mood, he has emotion, he has feeling. This is not dry philosophy. This is relationship. Yesterday, Garuda Prabhu was talking about that famous verse from Taittiriya Upanishad, Raso Vaisha. I just read it a few days ago in Keshav Maharaj's book Bhagavat, that Krishna is the source of all rasa, of all loving relish, as Maharaj was sharing. And then the next thing was maybe a couple of weeks ago, when it was Lord Nrsingadev's appearance, I just finished listening to Jay Shetty, Think Like a Monk, on audiobook, and you get like suggestions come up on your feed. And I saw Chaitanya Charitamrita there. I was like, wow, who's recorded Chaitanya Charitamrita? And it was Lord Nrsingadev's birthday. I felt like it was a present from him on his birthday to me. And I was like, the Lord is so kind. And it was recorded by Keshava Bharati Maharaj. And so I started listening to it. And, just before, as I was preparing for this class, as Rukmini Mataji gave a nice sangha recently, and I was driving up. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, 4th Adi 476, there's this nice verse. Yesterday, one kind devotee sent me a nice message to, wish me well for giving the class. It was a picture of Krishna and his hand was up giving blessings. And then she wrote a note like, seems like, it's not complete without Radharani, the picture of just Krishna on his own. And, this verse is saying that thus he is the supreme fountainhead, the absolute truth. And then as I was listening to Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's this verse, and it says, so this is Adi Leela 476, just as the fountainhead, Lord Krishna, is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. So it's so nice that, the Lord and his devotees are never separated. We cannot consider them alone. So Krishna's explained as the source of everything. And I was always also thinking, like, when we think of the source of everything, it's like, it's so big, it's so vast, and it makes you feel maybe a little like tiny and small. How do I connect with this person who's just the source of everything, right? And I was thinking, like, Krishna's amazing because even though he's the source of everything, he is so personal, right? He is simultaneously big and vast, yet so close and personal. This is Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, achintya Veda Veda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. Like Krishna had 16,108 wives, the queens of Dwarka. Narada Muni shocked, like, every single wife is satisfied, like, personally. Right? No one else can do that, only Krishna. Why do we go on about Krishna? It's because no one else can do that, except Krishna. The gopis in the rasa dance are thinking, Krishna's only dancing with me. Even though Krishna consciousness is simultaneously inclusive of everyone and exclusive. We feel like Krishna's just mine. And then even Lord Chaitanya, once he was dancing, and there were, I think, maybe about 7 Sankirtan parties, and he was in each one dancing. And each Sankirtan party is thinking, Lord Chaitanya is only in our Sankirtan party. So Krishna is so personal. There's a nice verse in the Gita as well. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. 529, Krishna is saying, I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor, and I'm the well-wisher. So I was thinking, feeling, and on the note of that well-wisher, on the 2nd of January 2010, Giriraj Swami and Radhanath Swami were giving a class just here before we had the Haveli. It's absolutely packed, and I was standing outside. And Giriraj Swami gave the definition of a friend. Because this supreme source, this vast supreme source is our personal friend if we want him to be. And Giriraj Maharaj was talking about friendship, and he said, someone that says they're your friend is not your friend. The person who reminds you that Krishna is your best friend, that person is your friend. And it's so nice that we have a community here where people actually remind us of our best friend. Bhakti is just about loving relationships. There's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam, 9.4.68. Sadhavo hridayam mayam, sadhunam hridayam tvaham, madanyatena jananti naham tebhyo managapi. Krishna is saying, I am in the heart of my devotees, and my devotees carry me in their heart. I cannot forget them for a second, and they cannot forget me. Managapi means even a fraction. Like, there's no room for dilly-dallying and dithering and getting distracted and diverted, just deeply determined devotion. So I was feeling a little nostalgic coming to give the class today, and somehow Krishna reminded me that on Friday the 18th of May, 2007, that's 16 years and 6 days ago in relation to today, 24th of May, I attended my first Srimad Bhagavatam class at Soho Street. And it was really unforgettable. I never thought about it that way, like, wow, Krishna, that long you've kindly connected me to this beautiful book. And Rangadevi kindly invited me to this class just 2 weeks after I'd come to the path. I was so glad that she did that. It was 5:30 in the morning, and I was getting ready to leave because I live in Timbuktu. I'm so grateful to Shilpan Shrey that you let me stay today, so I just had 15 minutes to drive rather than like 1.5 hours. My parents live in South London. And, I was leaving, my mom's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to the temple. And she was like, what? You never go to the temple. It's like, I go on Janmashtami and Diwali and that's about it. And then I'm like, I think either I'd missed the train, or we only have a small platform where I live, and there's only 2 platforms, so maybe the trains aren't running. But I was like, Mom, could you please drop me to the next main station, because I'm going to be late otherwise. I've got to get there for 7:30. She's like, no. She's like in her nightdress. And, I have no shame. I still bother my mom, and she's so tolerant. She's Titikshava, Karunika. And so she gets in the car and she's driving me. And she's like, what are you doing with your life? One of those mum conversations. And I regret that I didn't appreciate how much she loves me, even when she's angry. And then luckily I saw a bus, so she wouldn't have to spend half an hour of her time dropping me and ferrying me around. So I was like, Mum, I'll just get the bus. Got off, got on the bus, got to Soho, walking up the stairs. And there's like people sitting all the way up the stairs. I'm like, why are people sitting on the stairs? I've only been here 2 weeks. And then I open the temple room door, and it's absolutely packed. There is not a space in sight to even step. I'm like looking at my watch, it's like 7:30 a.m., Friday the 18th May. It's a normal day. Like, why are there so many people here? Aren't they at work? Aren't they sleeping? I'm like, this is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam, like just so attractive. Krishna is all attractive. And I was speaking about Canto 9. I have no idea what Srimad Bhagavatam is. What is Ambarish Maharaj, Durvasa Muni? I just remember 2 things from that class. And I'd like to share one of those things because I really feel it relates to the purport here. There's a sannyasi present, and he said, Krishna is a prisoner in the heart of one who loves him. So this supreme source of everything is conquered by love. I had never heard anything like that before. Srimad Bhagavatam wows us, like bhakti wows us. It's so phenomenal, so sweet. I remember reading in Keshav Maharaj's introduction that Krishna needs us as much as we need him. Krishna seeks us as much as we seek him. Krishna wants us as much as we want him. It's so sweet. This book is ambrosia to cure spiritual amnesia. What is love? Yesterday, Garuda Prabhu was talking about how love is a choice. Can't force anyone to love us. No one can force us to love them. You could hold a gun to someone's head and say, do you love me? Yeah, I do. But if you take the gun away, it really is going to test, well, do I? Why would I? How do we develop love for Krishna? What happens when we love Krishna? What is love? Radhanath Swami says, to love means to serve, and to serve means to please. Prabhupada quotes this verse here, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. It says, because today's verse is about how Krishna is the supreme source of everything. When we understand that, this verse is saying that the wise who perfectly understand this engage in my service with all their hearts. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say, don't try to see Krishna. Try to serve Krishna in such a way that he is pleased to see you. So seeing is serving. And then we have an experience that's tangible, palpable, experiential. We don't have to ask anyone, is this real? If we serve, Krishna reciprocates. on Monday, the Srimad Bhagavatam class played by Srila Prabhupada, 7610, he mentioned in that class, he quoted Bhagavatam 558, and the last line is Janasya moham aham mameti, this concept of I and mine. What does it mean to see, as Srila Prabhupada is saying here, that, in this verse, that Krishna is the source of everything? That means we need to train our minds and hearts to view everyone and everything in relation to Krishna. Like we say, my mom, my dad, my car, my house, my, I. But actually, it's Krishna's given me this mother, Krishna's given me this father. I am a caretaker, I am a custodian. I'm not the owner, I'm not the proprietor. So that means, if someone gives you like a jumper to borrow or something, you've got to treat it in such a way so you give it back to them and they'll be pleased that you looked after it nicely. If you eat and make it all dirty and hand it back like that, it probably wouldn't be very happy and let you borrow anything again. Looking after service protects us from that mindset of thinking of I and mine. And it's not that we have to reject things. Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Devotion, Anashaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayanjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagyam Uchite. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe. Everything has relationship with Krishna. How can we use everything we have in service to Krishna? How can we engage in our relationships in a way that is pleasing to Krishna? You don't have to artificially give them up. I think it's a Nectar of Instruction. Srila Prabhupada gives this example of, say there's a 50-pound note lying around on the floor. And there's three things that a person could do with it. Let's say the first person comes along and just takes it and enjoys it for themselves. Right? The second person comes along and just thinks, well, that's not mine, so I'm just going to leave it there. The third person comes along and finds out, who does this belong to, and gives it back to them. So the first person is not honest and not wise, because it's not theirs, and they're just using it. The second person is honest, but not wise, because they're honest, it's not theirs, but they haven't found out whose it is. Bhakti is not the art of negation, it's the art of transformation and application. So the third person is honest and wise, because they use it in Krishna's service. So we need to Krishnaize everything. That's why Srila Prabhupada is saying in here, read the Bhagavatam. He gives a summary of the different cantos. There's such power in reading and hearing. Why? I remember, again, going back to this time when I came to this path of bhakti. There was a KC Sok retreat, Krishna Consciousness Society retreat, because I saw a poster up in the ladies' bathroom at King's College London, where I used to study dentistry. And then I emailed them. I don't know why. I'm not a spiritual person. Just do my prayers like my grandma told me and not really understand why. My grandma was such a sweet person. I think that's why I did it. And Janaki Nath Prabhu emailed me back because we were in halls the first year of university. And he said, we haven't got any talks at the moment, but, Rangadevi's giving Bhagavad Gita, discussion in the square, so if you want to go, Russell Square. And that's how I met the devotees. But how, reading and chanting is, there's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam, Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridiyantasto hi abhadrani vidurnoti surit satam. Sachidananda Maharaj says, Krishna becomes a janitor and he sweeps our heart clean. Struggle with so many things in the heart. And if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, if we chant, then clears those things and makes space for nicer things. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Sudachite Karaya Udoy. Shravanadi, again, hearing and chanting. Hearing and chanting, hearing and chanting, hearing and chanting. That's it. Srila Prabhupada in one class, he says, he's talking about medicine. Because hearing and chanting is the medicine. And he says, people want something amazing. He's saying, people don't like homeopathy medicine because it doesn't taste of anything. You think, is this really doing anything? Is this really effective? Jai, Shishi Gaurata ki jai. Shishi Radha Gokulananda ki jai. Shishi Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. It is hearing and chanting about their beautiful lordships. That's how we need to develop this love. I went on a tangent. I forgot the story that I was meant to say about K.C. Sok. When I came to the manor for one of the very first times that I can remember, Shruti Dharma Prabhu was giving the class to us as students. And he shared something with us which I'll never forget, ever. This is my inspiration to read and chant what Shruti Dharma Prabhu shared. Who wants to hear? It's not convincing. Jai! Haribol. We're so lucky to have had someone like Shruti Dharma Prabhu with us. I didn't get to spend time with him like many devotees here, but just think, one thing that he shared has never left my heart. I mean, what a person. Right? Legacy. He said, if you ask someone, do you love your mother? And they say yes. So everyone, think of someone you love, right? Someone you really, really love. And these are the questions that Shruti Dharma Prabhu was giving as examples. So, what does he or she like to eat? I don't know. Oh, what does he or she do with their time? I don't know. What do they not like? I don't know. What do they look like? I don't know, but I love them. Doesn't make sense. That's why we have to read Srimad Bhagavatam, because everything is explained in a way that has depth, detail, and description. It's not simple, vague, and generic, basic. That's how much we need to dive into this book, so that we want to know everything about Krishna. When you love someone, you want to know everything about them. And Prabhupada quotes this verse, Krishna Swadharma Bhagate. See if I can find the translation. Yeah. So the translation of this verse that Srila Prabhupada mentions, 1.3.43, I'm just going to read it. The Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. These are dark times that we live in. Dark, difficult, depressing times. Bhagavatam is light. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andhakar, Yahan Krishna Taha Maya Nahi Adhikar. Krishna is like the sun, and Maya is like darkness. Wherever there's light, there cannot be darkness. Similarly, wherever there's Krishna, there cannot be any illusion or difficulty. Maybe superficially it remains. We can't, when I was 19, I had this accident, so I have this chronic pain in my back, and it's really horrible. It's not nice. It's constant. And honestly, I get scared to think, what would have happened to me if I didn't find Krishna and the devotees? Because how do you live with pain all the time? Like, I don't know how people do it without having something more meaningful. And now I think of my back pain, I think this is reminding me to go back to Godhead. Right? So like, Krishna consciousness awakens our real happiness, and so we feel quite fearless. And do you feel like this? Do you feel like, right? We can all relate to this, that bhakti gives us something that we can't get anywhere else. And that's why we continue to increase our faith every day by reading these beautiful books, by coming together to hear and chant. It's our identity. How do we stay engaged in our process? We have to make it our identity. There's after this program with Rukmini Devi, I was sitting in the car with one devotee saying a really long Indian goodbye. And she's just like, let's take a picture and send it to one of our friends. And we did that. And then we put she put our initials, like TS, and then she put her initials. And our friend messaged back, as a really dear friend, because she would, when I first came, we'd finish a program like really late at night, and she'd drop me all the way home. And she'd take out, like when it's late, like whatever, 10 or 11, and then like so much love, expecting nothing in return. I don't think I've really ever given her anything for all of that. Anyway, she messaged back and said, you forgot DD. Devi Dasi. So this is the culture of devotion, that devotees always thinking, I'm the servant. I'm not the supreme source. Krishna's the supreme source. Krishna's the supreme being. Krishna's the Samambonan. I'm the servant. And not just the servant, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Jivara Swarupai, Krishna Nitya Das. The living being is an eternal servant of Krishna. We all like to serve, right? I mean, for anyone that may be listening that is maybe a little new to the path of bhakti, we feel happy when we give without expecting anything in return when we serve others. Chaitanya Dasa Mui, Chaitanya Dasa Mui, Chaitanya Dasa Mui, Hanra Tanra Das. I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya, a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya and a servant of his servants. So identity, we need to change our identity. And every other identity can work around that identity. It's not that we have to stop being whatever else we are, whatever our jobs are, whoever our family, friends, relations are, we're British citizens, like everything can be included in that, right? Because remember, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha. And I call it SOS. SOS stands for like emergency, right? So SOS, servant of the servant, is an emergency, urgency, immediacy, consciousness, right? Even if you sometimes you don't like people sometimes. It's the nature of the ego and the mind, like, don't like that person. Why did that person say that to me? Or why, we can get so many issues, but as soon as we bring it back to, how can I serve in this situation? What can I do, Krishna? Right? It really helps. I was thinking as well to make bhakti personal and practical. I was with some friends recently and we were just speaking and I felt like a little hungry, so I wanted a snack. And we went to, my friend had some figs. So I opened up the fig packet and there's like they're from India, there's like a rope binding all these figs together, right? And I was remembering this verse in Bhagavad Gita, Mata parataram nanyat, kinchidasti dhananjaya, mai sarvam vidom proktam, sutra maniganaiva, thank you. That, Krishna's saying, I am the source of everything, and everything rests upon me like pearls are strung on a thread. So Krishna is the thread, and we are the pearls. Krishna is the rope, and we are the figs, I said to my friend. And we just had a moment like, what is the point of reading these books? It's not just so we read it and put it away and that's it, finish. It's so that when we go throughout our day, we have Shastra Chakshush. We're seeing Krishna everywhere. right? In the sweetest, smallest ways. It doesn't have to be a really big thing. It just has to be something meaningful and deep and personal in our relationship with Krishna. To keep it alive, fresh, exciting every single day. Otherwise, if it's theoretical, it just doesn't work the same. I was thinking the last verse was really nice as well, the last sentence. Actually, one more thing I want to share, something interactive. It was my birthday in March, and one of my friends very kindly gave me a blank book, nothing in it, and I thought, I want to put Krishna into it. And she sent me a WhatsApp audio as well and said, this has got to be the year that you write something. And it really penetrated and pierced my heart. I'm so grateful to her. So I started writing some poems and started sharing them with my friends, and they've been so encouraging. If Krishna's the source of everything, he has given us his power, his Shakti, his energy to use on his behalf. How are we using that? How are we appreciating that? The qualities Krishna gives us, the resources Krishna gives us, how can we use them in service to Krishna? I'm going to give I gave one example of like this book that my friend gave me. I'd love to hear from a few of you, if you'd like to share, something that you appreciate. It could be a quality, like I appreciate my friend for being encouraging. Non-envious. Anyone would like to share anything? Of something maybe you appreciate that a devotee does in their service, because that quality is coming from Krishna. Paurisham Rishu, Krishna is the source of that power. A service you appreciate that a devotee does, or something that you do and you feel grateful to Krishna that he's given me that quality to do that service nicely. Is this question making sense? Does anyone have anything that they'd like to share? Chambalab? Oh, thank you. And then please, if anyone has a question, it would be nice to ask.
Devotees are quite selfless and they only see the good in others. So they glorify, they magnify the good in you, and they ignore everything that's bad. And then they stress that. And it really does help you to magnify your the little good qualities that you have. And even in your service, without devotees' encouragement, when a devotee encourages you, it can make the things that are impossible possible. Like you say, mukha karoti vachalam. When you have the devotees' blessings, you have Guru's blessings, then the impossible becomes possible. So that's what I appreciate about devotees.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the devotees are like honeybees. They fly to the flowers, the good qualities, not like the flies, and we all know what flies fly to, the bad qualities in a person. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Prayojan Prabhu? Thank you so much for listening.
That similar vein about the seeing the good qualities. I remember at Hokshaja Prabhu from Scotland, he's a wonderful Sankirtan devotee, but I remember one thing he said to us. He said, you spot it, you got it. Now, this was such a statement, because if you see the good in somebody, that's a quality you recognize, but also that's in yourself, you recognize. But if you see that which is negative, something you start criticizing, you've also got it. Because you identify that. You've got that understanding. So the one thing it said, you spot it, you got it.
You spot it, you've got it.
got
That's
it.
such a nice, I love the rhyme.
Yeah, and I thought that was, I think everybody laughed, at the situation, and it's true. If we're critical of somebody or this is it, you're just recognizing that which is within you,
Absolutely.
Actually.
That's such a nice point.
Yeah.
Rukmini Devi at the Sangha, she was saying that she was introduced, some of her services that she does, and afterwards she said to the devotee that was introducing her that this is all autobiographical. You are seeing those qualities in me because you have them. So you spot it, you got it. I think that's like a sutra. Thank you so much, Prayajan Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yadupara Prabhu, did you want to speak something?
You mentioned pain. We all go through painful times. I remember Srila Prabhupada in his last days, I was actually massaging, and he looked like he was going through great pain. The body was going through different motions that indicated he was going through extreme pain, actually. So I asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, are you feeling pain? And he looked at me like completely detached. And he said, no. So Prabhupada was so beyond, the physical. And you were mentioning that, you're yourself going through pain. So if you become, totally immersed in Krishna consciousness, there is no pain.
Wow. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
That is something to aspire for. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, well, thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai. Really, that's encouraged me so much. Thank you, Prabhu. What's your name? Sankirtan Prabhu, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.